Hi, hi, hi. Welcome back to part two of the anniversary episode of Wait, What Do You Do Again? Matt is back in the host seat as we go a little bit deeper into college jobs and wild MapQuest travel days, unexpected career turns, motherhood, and just finding my way after life has thrown me a lot of curveballs. It's really fun. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you again for listening. Thank you for all my guests this past year who've shared their stories with me. And I hope we continue this journey over the next year and beyond that. Okay, here we go.
Wait, so what did you have a part-time job at
Oh, I
Maryland
did. I worked federal work study in admissions in the admissions office.
the
When
entire
you
time,
called,
or was it that like
I
later?
had a couple. So that one I did for most of all sophomore year through senior year. And so like people would call and you'd be like, "Hi, University of Maryland undergraduate admissions. How can I help you?" And people would yell at you for their kids not getting in. And you're like, "Okay, hold on." Or like check on their applications or whatever. And then I also had a job in the annual fund for like the phonathon kids.
Oh my
And this
God,
is so wild. So like,
a
the
phonathon. Oh God.
yeah, but it was such great experience. And this is the wild part. So like if you hit your target that night, like if you hit it, you got a bonus. But if you went above it, they would like give you cash. So that those nights that like we would make cash and then we would go to like Bentley's and like Cornerstone and Lupo's and
I will.
like, oh my God, what was the one? The fake, I'm totally blanking on it right now. There was another one, but we would just go right from there to the
Mark.
bars. It was wild. But it was fun. But those were my two main jobs in college and they got me through, which is, great. But yeah, so and then I was lucky enough, this is 2005.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So you were so I remember the anxiety of going to my senior year. Like it's all fun. We're celebrating. We're seniors on campus and things like that. But there was a nagging anxiety. It's like, for me, was I was in Massachusetts living it like being, my family's in DC. It was like, am I staying in Boston? Am I moving back to DC?
Yeah.
Where am I going to work? So were those types of things going through your mind? Were you sort of like, what am I doing? Like you have this boyfriend, right? So you're sort of
Yeah.
figuring out, well, he's already been graduated.
Right.
So you're sort of like, what do
What's
I
going on there?
right,
Yeah.
yeah, what's going on there? What's going there with my career? All these different things. So
I think that
what's going through your mind?
so my junior year, I had an amazing professor, Peter Lancelot Malios, and
I
he's like a
can't.
foremost Joseph Conrad scholar. But he was a corporate lawyer, very powerful corporate lawyer for over a decade. And he shared this with the class. He was like, I always wanted to be an English professor. I always wanted to do this deep research, but it was really very similar story. Like there were expectations on me. I did them. I hated every single day of it. And finally, like I decided to go back and do this, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I sought out his counsel and I said, tell me what to do for law. Like again, this just wasn't my world. Like no one in my world,
Knew what was
there
next.
was no one to talk to about
Same
this.
with me.
So
Yeah.
I just had the gumption and I went and talked to him and he was like, do me a favor. And we were kind of talking about it and he could probably tell like, you're not committed to this. You don't exactly know what you're doing. And he wasn't putting me down. He was like, I can tell you're really interested, right? And you're a smart kid and whatever. But so he said to me, he was like, do me a favor. Like, this is what you need to do, LSAT, all this stuff, whatever. And then if you take a year and work somewhere else, and if you still really want to go to law school, but don't go immediately afterwards. He was like, I see that mistake all the time. You
Oh,
may
so many
decide you want a
people.
master's degree or a different PhD or just something else, right? And it was excellent advice. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I knew that like Mr. Architect and I were going to stay together my senior year. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I think I would have fallen into like sales or like event planning. Like I think that's kind of what I was thinking because I sort of had a background. Oh, I also worked in the summers, conference and visitor services on
My God, you were such a
campus.
Maryland
I
girl.
was such a little Maryland girl, but again, I had like
You
really
stayed on
great
that campus.
bosses.
You just
Well, I
lived,
didn't want to go home,
and they paid for
right?
your housing,
They paid for
and they
housing and it
probably
was
paid really
they
well.
paid really well. Your housing and your food was taken care of. We had so much fun tooling around on golf carts and doing stuff like random stuff. So anyway, I knew I was going to stay with Mr. Architect. I think that was sort of a given or assumed or whatever. We kind of talked about it, but kind of didn't. And we really talked about it at the end of my senior year. But I didn't really know what I was going to do. And the job market was tough. And I started to get a little nervous. And I applied for an admissions counselor role at Maryland. They hired me. I don't know why. I was a crazy person. I like look back on it and I was like, you were like a wild horse that they had to tame. But I guess they saw like she knows Marilyn, she kind of knows the group, and maybe like out of five people they hired, maybe they hired someone else and they said no, and then they hired me. I don't know. I don't know, but I was so excited and I'm so grateful for that job.
What was graduation like before we move into adult
It
dating?
was great. I mean, I loved graduation.
Was
Walked,
it was it was
I
it
did the main
impactful anyway,
I
or
didn't know. I mean, I did the main ceremony and that was really cool. And that was really cool. We were in Xfinity. I almost said Comcast. We were in Xfinity. And then the English graduation, the speaker was bizarre. I remember that. Like
ah!
Andrea Mitchell was my commencement ceremony speaker, and I remember my English, it was just weird. I don't know, but it was meaningful to me and it was really exciting. Oh, and my mom, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot this. My mom, as like not really a graduation gift, but part graduation gift, part like everything's kind of changing, took our family to Europe for like 2.5, 3 weeks.
Ah!
Um, so that was really cool. And I think something was going on with my brother at that time. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what happened. I graduated, and then like a week later, we were in Europe, and that was really cool. It was like the Griswolds take Europe. That was a fun trip.
Got that
Um,
summer off just to retool and regroup, or were you
a
just ready
couple
to take?
weeks, but like I was nervous. Like I needed a job, and
Yeah.
so I think I was working at the country club, just like figuring it out. And then I got the admissions job. And again, don't know why they hired me. Super grateful for
My God,
it.
I know every reason why they hired you. Come on. See in us what we don't see in ourselves
Yeah, yeah.
often,
But I think
especially in that age.
well,
You
and I think the
just saw the
part
potential.
I think the risk was she's a crazy person, but who's very a crazy person who's very confident of herself, right?
That
And that can be a
can be
challenge. But
crazy.
had a great supervisor, Annie DeMeo, who is now Annie Resnick,
Amy
and
hired you.
Annie hired me, and
Oh my
like I
God,
met
so
amazing
crazy.
people, most of whom, like you, I'm still friends with today. Didn't realize it at the time, but like the leadership of Barbara Gill, Shannon Gundy, Britt Reynolds, like that triad was incredible. And
But
like,
wait, wait, wait,
yeah,
wait. Before we get to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
your that answer, you're very polished. It's very,
Oh,
I want
so
I want
polished.
the nitty gritty. See,
The
that's
nitty. Oh, I
because
was.
I know, we know these people, but like I think it's funny that, one of the things being an admissions counselor, like you don't you're by yourself a lot
Okay,
of
first
the
of
time.
all,
Like
like,
that,
why?
this is right.
You're
This
by yourself. You're
self,
roaming all over the country. This is 2005.
you're
Like,
22, you have the credit card.
you've got a credit card. I can't rent a car. I'm using like cars from Motor Pool. These little like, what were they? They were Chevy Cavaliers or
Can't
Chevy
believe the
or
little
Tauruses.
caddy. Yeah.
And you're going school to school. Like, you're still using MapQuest.
Know nothing about the world,
I
really.
remember meeting colleagues on the road, like at rest stops, because, oh, I ran out of materials. Oh, okay, you can have some of mine, whatever. And the fact that they let us at 22 and 23 make decisions on kids that are like totally going to change the trajectory of their life is like
Yeah.
insane to me. But we learned a ton. It was the first time I had really gone anywhere. That job as a
Right. I
whole,
think that's so important to shape your worldview
yeah.
because we weren't doing international travel, but we were just traveling to like places for someone that does, first gen.
I didn't travel before
Right,
it. Yeah.
Texas. You were in Seattle. We're, in New England.
Yep.
We're all outside of the sort of that New York to DC sort of
Yeah.
corridor and experience. Even if you are going to North Jersey, I've never really been to these places for real. I've
No.
driven through them, but not
No.
like actually go to community. What is Bergen
And to
County?
meet the community
Right.
itself. And
Yeah.
like one of
What
the
is Jewish
things,
day schools and why is that a thing?
yeah, yeah. And
And
why do they
like,
love Maryland so much?
yeah.
But
These are all the things to learn.
it was interesting too because Annie really encouraged us to take an extra day or to take some time when you're in an area to go see it, right? So
Right.
like because so many times you're just working, 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 and like if you're in Boston, you don't get to see it. So she was like, take an extra day. Like you'll pick up your own hotel, but like use it. And that was great advice. I encouraged my staff later on to do that. And that's how I saw the country. Like one of my regions was Westchester and Rockland counties, and
I
it was
remember
like in
that.
October. And I felt like I should be paying the school. It was gorgeous. Like it was just, it was good. And yeah, the nitty gritty of it. I mean, like, again, made a ton of mistakes, but I think I
Of
always
course.
owned my mistakes. I was earnest. I learned pretty quickly. I was good at what I was good at, and then I learned to close the delta on what I wasn't good at for the
You know
most
what I
part.
did for my
Well,
first travel? Because this is pre map free Google Maps or Apple Maps on your phone. You had like your Atlas map or whatever.
Yeah.
You had MapQuest directions.
Yeah.
And if you don't know the types of roads, like I was a new driver, I got my license to get this job. So as
Yeah.
Megan knows, like, so
Right.
I'm like in New Jersey, northern New Jersey, driving this Taurus. And so the first day, I thought I could just depend on my MapQuest. I got lost. I missed my visit. I didn't know where I was going. Jug handles. And so what I did, I don't know if I told you this, or maybe I did. You may have forgotten, but what I had very long days because after my visits were done for that first day, I
Uh-huh.
would drive my visits the next day. So
You told me this. You were
I would
so good.
I would like, okay, now or let's drive to all these schools. Oh, this is
Yep.
school. It's dusk. It's getting dark. And I'm like, okay, so now where are we going? So I knew the roads.
Yeah.
What taught me to when just my
Just
brain.
preparation. I used to do that.
Yeah.
I used to do that too to figure out how long it was going to take from the hotel to the first. So it was like, oh, let me drive there and then back to the hotel. So I knew how early I had to get up. And I'll never forget. So there's a Montgomery County in Pennsylvania and a Montgomery County in
Oh
Maryland, and
Lord.
both
Yeah.
were my territories. And I was in like the Philly area, and the next day on my calendar, I didn't have the flyer. I didn't have the college fair flyer. So I went to look to see the address, and it's at Montgomery County College Fair, like 7:30 a.m. I'm freaking out. I like cannot find the flyer because I thought it was Maryland. And I ended up calling Annie at like 9:30 at night, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I
It's
think I
always
made a
that
mistake,
call.
and I can't find the flyer. And she was like, oh, it's this address. And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, it's like 5 minutes from my, like, I was like, oh my God, I got this hotel. I shouldn't have got like all this stuff. Like, so little things like that. And yeah, so it was interesting. And then, you
Um,
know, I'll fast forward a little bit, but Mr. Architect and I got married, and we lived in DC, and that was cool. We lived in a basement apartment in Adams Morgan. That was really fun, and just had a core group of people like from Maryland, college friends, a lot of whom were in DC, and we met some people there, and it was really cool. So that was a really fun, exciting
dinner
time of my
party,
life.
DC
Dinner
Dining
parties.
Club.
Well, and it was so great because yeah, it's DC Dining Club, and like that apartment was a basement apartment, but the owner was a lawyer. He was never there. He was an IP lawyer, and like he had a lot next door. So it was open, and we used it all the time. Like he was never there. And then our neighbor just next to that open lot was this very old, like I think like mid to late 80s man who lived in DC his whole life. He did HVAC systems at the White House. He was so lovely, so nice. We would, like take dinner over to him every now and then. So it was like living on Sesame Street. Like it was so wonderful. It's so
It
nice.
was that era. This is also the backdrop Barack Obama is president.
Yeah,
So we have that. And DC was top tier during that
top
time.
tier.
You don't know, you'll never know. But this was just the golden age of
Like
just,
for us, it was just incredible. Yeah,
yeah. And
the whole world seemed open and positive, and like
yeah,
it was a magical time.
was a magical time. And I thought this would be my friend group for life. I really thought, like, this is so naive of me. Like, not that we're not friends now, but life happens and things change. I thought
Yeah,
we would get together for our DC dining club. We would like, we would just have, it was really just a great group of friends
it
we
was.
hung out with. We'd go over and just have laughs. And then we had a job we really liked. It was just very like, I was living in Shaw. I look back very fondly on that time,
Same.
making my $30,000 a year.
It was just magical. And part of the reason that the job was so great was because it was so hard. And I had two colleagues at the time who were some of the smartest people I've ever met, Lynn McChrystal and Leo Yanez. And Leo and I were fast friends. Like we were two smart goofballs. And Leo is way smarter than I am, but they really helped shape me too. Like they really helped me grow up
Yeah.
a lot in a different way. And I was so grateful for them. And Leo and I actually saw each other a couple years ago. He's in New Orleans doing great, still ridiculously smart and still a goofball. And actually, there's a painting that I'm looking at right now that he gave me for my birthday one year. And it was just magical. Like we met so many interesting people and the whole world was just open and free. And yeah, it was great. And then I'll fast forward a little bit. Like I ended up working with alumni and development in admissions.
Right.
And that was a really interesting world. For the record, no one was admitted because of their donations. It really was just like me ferrying them through the process and then also letting my development colleagues understand what was going on. And it was like, this kid has 5 Ds. There's no way they're getting in. Or like, this kid is like borderline. We're looking at them. We got to wait for the first semester grades, whatever. And so
So
that was my exposure to that world. Like I
yeah.
didn't understand fundraising. I didn't really know it was a thing. I didn't understand alumni relations, you know, like in reality. And that's like how I got
Yeah.
into that world. That was like sort of the first foray.
So I want to level set. So you're an English
Yeah.
major. You didn't know what was going to bring you next. You apply for job at admissions. You get the job at admissions, and you're there for what, like 4 years or something. And
Yeah,
this is,
like 2 years. There was a little stint where I worked for a nonprofit and did events for them, national conferences. Realized that was not what I was
and you have
supposed
to
to be
itch.
doing.
That's good important to know. I think
But
from
that was so cool too because it was in
right.
DC. It was in
Yeah.
DuPont Circle. I took the bus. Sometimes I walked to work. It was like that part was really cool, but I realized it was not what I wanted to do or was actually particularly good at.
Right. Because I feel like a lot of people
Yeah.
are stuck in that loop of like, oh, I don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
Security. Like I know I want to do something else, but I don't know how to do it or how to actualize and do it. So I'm just gonna stay here and
Yeah.
be not miserable, but just sort of know I want to do more, but I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing in higher ed, and maybe in other industries, but in higher ed, like unless someone leaves or gets promoted, you're stuck often. Like you just have to kind of sit in a role. So you either have to move out, like either off the university or into another office in order to like move
Yeah.
up, or just wait, which there's nothing wrong with waiting, but I was like a wild horse and crazy. And then I came back.
No, not crazy at all. I mean, you got to take these opportunities, I
Yeah.
think. And I think you're very smart, I think smart at the time and smart in hindsight for doing that. So how did you, so you're high admissions, okay, you started working with the alumni more. How did you, so when you transitioned out of that office
Yeah.
into alumni, like what was that? What were you feeling trepidatious?
So
You
yeah,
nervous? I mean, yeah, I mean, our admissions office, I don't know if you feel this way, but it really is like a family.
it
These are
was.
people that we still can rattle off in our
Yeah.
heads. They're so impactful to us.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna leave, you're like kind of leaving the nest in a
Yeah,
way.
I
Like,
was ready. I definitely was ready. And I had an amazing mentor. I still talk to her today, Barb Quinn, and she really helped me navigate all of it. And I went to her for like, what should I do? And it was an interesting time because at this point, I had 2 kids. Like, that's crazy to think about. And 2 kids under 3. And I, when was this? It
I thought
was
of the house in Rideau Park. I saw.
Yes. Yeah. And so it was interesting because, 2010, just like 2008 to 2010, just like decimated higher ed. Like, remember all those layoffs and furloughs and all
Oh
that
my
stuff?
God, the recession.
And so we were starting to rebuild. We were going into a silent campaign. I didn't know what that was at the time. And the Alumni Association was hiring, and a college was hiring for a development officer. And this will never happen again in my life. I applied for both. I got both offers. And when I was talking it through, there was just more opportunity, in my view, for alumni relations. So I worked with alumni from in the Eastern Corridor. So basically Philly up to New York, Boston over to Chicago because of the Big Ten when we moved into the Big Ten. And it was really just like kind of re-engaging alums. And so I did that, loved
You're
it,
so good.
traveled a
So
ton,
good.
had a baby. It was crazy.
How does motherhood affect that? We didn't really talk about your kids too much, but I don't know if I want to spend that
Yeah,
much
yeah,
on
yeah. I
like
mean, I just
but just being a mother, like how are you balancing all of this?
not well.
Not
Not well. I mean, I was the one that like picked them up and dropped them off, took them to all their doctor visits. I thank God, like everybody pre-COVID world was like really flexible with me working from home and stuff. Like my son, his first year was sick a lot. He had a lot of ear issues. And so not well. I mean, I think I dug into work probably too hard. You know what I mean? To like kind of ignore everything else that was going on and the stress and all of that. I used it as an escape. I will say, and we can talk about this another time, but like I definitely drank too much after my first child. Like once I was finished nursing, I definitely drank too much, and it was a way to just kind of deal with not having support, working so much, probably some postpartum, Mr. Architect being as supportive as he could, but he didn't know how to support me. And like, I think drinking is so accepted, like mommy juice at the playground and stuff like that. And I look back on it at the time, I didn't think I was abusing alcohol in that way, but I look back on it and I was definitely numbing myself and just like focusing on work and like getting through what I needed to get through. Unfortunately, it didn't it didn't continue. Like as things got easier, that part definitely eased up. But I look back on it and I'm like, oh my God, but I really didn't have a support system that I needed.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to ask for it. I don't even think I knew that I needed it. I thought this was just like you have to bear it all, right? And so
Yeah.
so the other interesting thing is when I moved from admissions into alumni relations, I was making a lot more money and there was a lot more potential to make money. And so that also drove me a lot. Like for a while, my salary just went to, I was just basically working for healthcare. Like my salary just went to daycare.
Yeah.
It was and so it was tough. So did that, traveled a ton. You always have this mom guilt, but I was there for the things I really, really needed to be there for. And with New York, I remember like taking the first train up and then the last train home, I would get donuts so that when they woke up the next day, there were always donuts. And I'd always give my taxi driver at like midnight a donut coming back home. And like, it's funny because years later, I asked the kids, I was like, was that hard for you when I was gone? And they were like, no, we had donuts. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But even then, it like expanded the world so much for me, right? Like, I started to experience other people in such a different way and how the world could be and was. And actually, like that was sort of the impetus for this podcast is I've spent so many years just talking to interesting people
Yeah.
and everybody has a really interesting story. And that's the job that really, like, that's where a lot of that click happened. And then I ended up managing the team that worked with all the clubs in the region, all across the United States.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Did that for a while. I don't
Never
think I,
came to Denver. You never came.
no, it wasn't a priority club. Sorry.
I know. I
But
know.
again, trying to figure out how to manage all of it, manage a team, all that stuff. And I wanted to be at Maryland forever. Like I was a lifer. Like my dream was to run the Alumni Association. That was my dream. I wanted to be the executive director of the Alumni Association. And
And I think it's so important that what you just said there, because you felt safe and secure. We
and I
often
loved it.
right. No, and right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I feel the same way about like I feel like, this has now become the Maryland Love Podcast because I feel like Maryland changed my life.
www.umd.edu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to UHR and apply.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed my time at Maryland. Maryland changed my life when I got the job there. I was kind of a wayward before I admissions hired me, and I spent what six years. I started in 2007. I left in 2013 to go to grad school, but then I
Hmm.
stayed on campus and grad
Hmm.
school and left in 2015. So
Yeah.
8 years total on campus.
Yeah.
Did a lot of alumni stuff after. And so, but yeah, I say all that to say, like, yeah, we loved it. I think it was a great place to be, but I think in life often your own desires and interests and opportunities come up, right? And so then you sort of you step out there, and which is kind of scary to do something completely different.
Yeah.
Like for example, like I knew I always wanted to be an urban, not always, but I knew I had an interest in urban planning,
Right.
right? So how was I going to do this? It was like I can be on the track for Maryland admissions or do something different. I
Right.
decided to take the road less traveled.
Right.
You could have stayed at Maryland and you could have been the director of alumni relations right now, maybe, or more.
Maybe. Yeah.
And but you decided to go down south, take your talents to the Sunshine State.
Yeah.
As you put on your your Boca lips.
My
So
little pink
like
lips. Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting because Maryland was a special place and it still is a special place and it's the people. It's the people and it's hard to express it,
Yeah.
but I think that's also part of what made it so difficult to leave, but I also saw that it was the same thing that I said before. Like it was going to be difficult to I would have to stay in positions a lot longer maybe than I wanted to
Yeah.
for myself at the time. I think I feel differently now to potentially reach that goal of mine. And I was recruited to another institution. I was recruited to Florida Atlantic University. I was the assistant president for alumni relations and community engagement. And it was a great opportunity. I had never lived anywhere else. South
Hmm.
Florida, like I knew was not going to be my forever home, but it felt sort of kind of familiar. I had two friends that were there that Mr. Architect and I knew. It was a huge pay raise. It was a huge increase in responsibility that I wouldn't have gotten at another school, sort of the tier of Maryland or above. So it was a good opportunity. And, Mr. Architect and I were always just sort of like, well, we can just change. Like, let's go and try it. And then we can, if it doesn't work, like, we can come back to DC. Like, we kept our place there and all that kind of stuff. And he actually needed to get his licensing. So I was able to support us and he was able to take time off. I think he took about a year off, took his exams, and yeah, did that and was there for a while. A lot happened. That was like a really wild time, accelerated time. So first and foremost, I never had to make friends before, and I know that sounds crazy, but like I really had to
Oh.
work to make friends. And one of the things I didn't realize being the boss is like you can't really make friends with too many of your colleagues, right? Like it was very different and I wasn't expecting that. And so I did find a women's running group. The professional scene in Boca, especially for women, is very different. Let me put it that way. Very different. So I didn't kind of have that group of women who were other professionals the way that I did in DC. And DC was interesting because I was always really young. Like I had my first son at 28, and many of these women had full careers and were having their first child at like 41 or 45. So very just different dynamic, right? So I found this running group eventually that has really changed my life and has brought amazing friendships into my life. But I had to find friends. It was a culture shock for sure, much more than I expected. I really loved the job. I was able to build a team. I liked FAU because it felt like Maryland in the sense it was very diverse, a strong emphasis on first generation students. A third of their students at the time were first generation, and really served its purpose. Like it was founded that if you couldn't get to Tallahassee or Gainesville, you couldn't finish a degree in the 60s. So that's how it was founded, and that's like its roots, right? And I really love that. I got divorced during that time. And that was tough. I shouldn't laugh about that. That was really tough, and that didn't have anything to do with the move. But so that happened. We separated in 2019. 2020 happened with COVID. I was leading a team.
Ugh.
We all thought we were going home for 2 weeks. That didn't
Ugh.
happen. My divorce was finalized over Zoom, and then, a year almost to the day of when we separated and all of that, I was fired. And I was fired unexpectedly. I had had, meets to exceeds performance evaluations. There was no heads up on it. It was supposed to be a one-on-one. I went in, I saw HR, I saw the person, and I was like, are you serious? And so there was no heads up on it. This is the person who not only recruited me there, but like very personal and professional relationship. And I knew things were getting tough for them. I was part of senior leadership. I understood what was happening in the around us and some of the pressures that we were facing, but it was still a shock. And I was like, what the fuck? And even then I was like, you know what? I'll hear from them afterwards. Like there's sometimes you just can't say things. So I was let go without cause, which allowed me to have a better severance, whatever. Florida's an at-will state. It was not well thought out. I mean, I literally had to call HR and I was like, is someone gonna I had meetings that day and I was like, is someone gonna let them know about like whatever? My team didn't know officially for like a week. I ended up calling them and just telling them and was like, I'm sure you're going to get more information, but this is what happened. I tried to like work them through that. So that was, it was a huge blow as it always is. It was a huge blow to my ego. It was a huge surprise. The person knew that like, again, all of this stuff had happened. I was the breadwinner. I have two little kids and like, this is what's happening. And I just naively was like, I'll hear from them. Like sometimes these things happen, right? And like I'm sure I will hear and I'm sure they will help me. I've never heard from that person to this day. It was one of the first moments in my life where I really saw someone in a way that surprised me and disappointed me. And I felt very naive, I guess. And so that was a lot happened in
Yes.
like 4 years. But
Era.
all of these things I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. And I kind of hate that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why little
Yeah.
kids get cancer. Like I don't get that. But the past 10 years, I really believe that I am being protected and the universe gives you the lesson until you learn it. Let's put it that way.
It's true.
And this was a redirection that I didn't want. It was a redirection I did not understand for a while,
Yeah.
and I fought it for a while. And, you know, um, I thought for sure, like, okay, well, and my goal was still Maryland. My goal was still to be the executive director of the Alumni Association. And it actually was kind of a good time because everywhere was remote. So like I was a finalist at some really great schools. Um, and what I realized naively, because I was so focused, I had my
Right.
blinders up, right? Like I've got to do this, and so I can get to Maryland and be an executive director of the Alumni Association. And it's all I'd ever known. I realized like I could not leave the state without my kids. And if I did, the custody agreement was going to be like, what was proposed was like 3 weeks with me and then back with Mr. Architect. And then Mr. Architect would have summers. And it was just like, I had this moment, like I'm just going through it. You're talking to the lawyers, you're da 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 da, you're trying to figure out. And I will never forget, I was in Home Goods and I was sniffing candles. And I had this moment of like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's not what you want. That's not the relationship you want your kids to have with their dad. That's not what you want. Like what are you doing? So then I realized, like, okay, higher ed's probably not going to work out. And for context, like trying to find a job at Miami, it's like a 2 hour drive. Like that wasn't an
Yeah.
option. Like, and otherwise I'm kind of in a desert here. And so I had to figure it out. And at this point, it had been almost a year of looking and getting offers and like having great conversations.
Yeah.
But so it's almost like you're starting over again. It's like that crush of getting fired, and then it's like go into action, and you have so many good things happen, but then it's that crush of yourself being like, I can't,
Yeah.
what am I going to do?
It sounds like you had your aha moment
I
at
did. I had one
at
of
this
them.
time.
And
Um,
yeah. And so I realized, part of what was so crushing about being let go, and as I've explored this with other people, it's such comfort, right? Like I was so embarrassed. I was
of
so
course.
embarrassed and confused. Like I was like, why did this happen? Like, like if there was
Yeah.
something I could have done better, we could have figured it out. Like and now I know what happened. It was political. And it probably would have happened anyway, frankly, just given the understanding in the landscape. But there's better ways to do things, right? So whatever, whatever. We all learn, we all grow. Allegedly, I don't know. This is all allegedly from my perspective. But it's this loss of identity. And I think you can sort of feel that like so much of my time and identity and sense of self and what I just threw myself into because I could control it was work. And to not have that and to not have the path that you thought you were going to have, I really had to figure out who I was. And that was the aha moment. And that's hard, really hard. And the great things about it too was like I figured out who my community was. And like I have an amazing group of friends who just rallied around me and supported me and I could be honest with. And, I had family members that were certainly supportive. And it's one of those things where you start to figure out as you're figuring yourself out, like who are your people?
Yeah. So I feel like us as millennials have approached work and our profession different from our parents,
Hmm.
We're not 30 years from the federal government,
Right.
being from the DC context
Right.
or whatever. We've moved around, we've
You find a
moved.
good job, you stay there, and you
Right.
retire. Yeah.
I think one of the things we do are, I think a lot of us have been committed to this corporate life. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Corporate meaning like, oh, I'm the title, I manage a
Yeah.
team in this corporate context. What I'm seeing now from us millennials, we're now in the eldest of us are in the early 40s now, is that we're sort of like doing it on our own. We're finding making way to do something independent from this structure that's not
Yeah.
working for us.
Yeah.
I wanted you to speak upon that as you sort of, as we celebrate the 1 year anniversary of Wait, What Do You Do Again? And
Yeah.
other ventures you're looking to pursue.
Totally, totally.
So, yeah,
And during that time, again, it was like, okay, well, I have this background in fundraising and I'm good at it, right? Like, well, I think I'm good at it and I enjoy it. And but what else can I do and what do I like doing? And I actually became a certified coach and like sort of my specialty is transitions and pivots, right? And I did that during that time because I was like, well, what else am I doing other than looking for jobs, you know? And that was wonderful. And I learned so much about myself during that time as well. The lesson there is I got another job and it was remote. I had an amazing boss. I really enjoyed the work, but I put that career on hold, the coaching career, because you dive all the way in. And
right,
I look back on it and I was like, well, shoot, I
right.
should have kept going. But I didn't know. You don't know until you know, right?
Like
And
you said, you're
so
learning this lesson. You're learning the
you're
lesson as
learning the
you sort of,
lesson.
yeah.
And so fast forward a few years and life keeps giving me roadblocks and detours and things like that. And I think the universe, like literally, I just imagine like a boot kicking me over and being like, wait up, DeFord, you know, like, and the whole time it was so weird. Like, and I won't get into it, but there was a lot going on at that time. And the whole time I was so calm because I was like, I don't know what's next, but I know that this was right and you're going to be okay and you're going to get through this. And I did. And one of the things that to what you're saying is I've been so inspired by artists. It kind of goes back to the arts, right? And how actors have to write their own screenplays and stuff like that. And I was like, you can do your own thing. You did it with coaching. You've you know, like you have this opportunity. You've got some money, not a lot, like you've got to find another job, but you've got a little bit of a cushion for the next couple months. And while you're looking for a job, I started an LLC, I started a coaching and consulting business. I started the podcast. I've been wanting to start a podcast for 2 years, but I was so scared to do it because I represented these other organizations and I didn't want my voice to influence that. And in fundraising, so much of what we do, I'm a blank canvas because what I'm doing is representing the organization and connecting opportunities with people who want to fund it. That's it, right? In a nutshell. And there were people who didn't know I had kids. Some people, I've been to their like kids' bar mitzvahs and graduations, and it just depends on the relationship, and you gotta figure that out and navigate that. But so I did that, and that's when I was like, I'm starting this podcast, like you know, and so yeah, in like 5 years, oh my God, in 5 years, it's like move, get divorced, get fired, realize the profession and goals and everything that you had for yourself are not it, try and kind of make it work. The universe being like, stop it. This isn't what you're supposed to be doing necessarily, and not in the way that you're thinking about it. And then finally getting to the point of like starting to create my own thing. And the other part about that that's so interesting, and I do work for another organization now full time, and it's been amazing. It's been really interesting work. But the other part about all of this is with like my personal business and all of that. I don't know where it's going. I don't know where this podcast is going, but I know it's going somewhere. And I've never been in a place in my life where I'm comfortable with that. You know, like where I don't know and I'm okay with that. And I know that's part of the process. So you get there one way or another. This was it was just you know, a lot all at once. Maybe I would have preferred getting there a different way, but here I am.
But that's life, right? And that's sort of life is will take you on these turns, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, you think about if I ever thought 20 years ago I'd be where I am today, a lot of people say no.
Yeah.
Very few will say yes. So I think that's what it's about. And I'm just going to say I'm really proud of you
Oh,
for
I'm
sort
proud
of
of you too.
being at the front, being in the front row of
Yeah.
this for like, at least the last what 15 years
Yeah.
more. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's wild. And I think, you know, in that time when I was looking, when I was unemployed, I was the room mom for the first time. I started coaching soccer. I started doing
Mhm.
things that I could never do before because of
Yeah.
work. And it really opened things up to me. And to have friends and people like you, and I can love on you for a second, but people who allowed me just to kind of figure stuff out. I was always so concerned about image and being the person I thought people thought I should be.
Mm,
And it was a way to kind of discover and learn myself and to have people who were just like, yeah, amazing, awesome, like, and I do this to you all the time. I text you and I'm like, can I call and cry about something? Like to have that support. And to love on you a little bit, you've always been that way. Whether it was when I had kids, I mean, obviously our relationship changed, but you just always accepted it. It's like we've always just, we haven't lived in the same state in forever. We don't see each other that often, but like we've always just kind of rolled with each other and supported each other. And I think that's been such a gift throughout all of this is recognizing that like you can just be who you are and people will love you for who you are. And
yeah.
you've got to have, I'm fortunate that I call my own personal board of directors. You're on them. You're probably the chair,
Oh,
co-chairs with Casey. And people that you can call and be like, check me on this. And they will, they'll be like, that's a bad idea. Or like, you might want to think about it this way or whatever. Or be like, yeah, that's amazing. Go for it. And so that's been such a gift that I didn't have before either. And so yeah, that's that in a nutshell.
what a great message, though, to
Yeah.
end on is that be who you are. Like,
Yeah.
really, really, that lean into you as opposed to putting on this other thing.
I was wondering so I ask all of my guests, like, what do you love most about your job or whatever you're doing? It doesn't have to be a job. What advice would you give to your younger self and how can people find you? But I was thinking about it, and the advice I would give to my younger self is just that, like, spend more time figuring out who you are than trying to be someone that you think you're supposed to be and that others think you're supposed to be. And
Yeah.
there came a point where like they were so enmeshed, right? And I will also say if anybody's going through that, it's hard work. Like it's not fun. And I'm still going through that. I'm still learning about myself and like I'm really learning to feel feelings in a way that I haven't before and it sucks. Like it's great, but it's hard. And I think my message to my younger self is that, but I think for anybody who's going through it is like stick with it. It's so worth it. And like yeah, it's tough, but it's also it's worth it to be who you are and to figure out who you are and to just let yourself this like unfolding, I think is so wonderful and exciting. So yeah.
Question.
Hmm.
You- People asked you questions
Yeah.
online. Did you want to tackle any of those now, or you want to do those separate?
We might do them a little separately. So actually someone asked what advice would you give to your younger self? Okay, so I answered that. What were some other ones? If you could have any job, what would it be? I would say I think I still want to be like a fashion and culture writer. If I
I
could,
think you should do
like
it.
regardless of money, I think that's or like I don't know. But I'm kind of doing that. And again, to your point, like I'm writing a newsletter and I love doing it. You can sign up for it on my website. And like I love doing that. Let's see, what were some other ones? Your sister asked what my Venus sign was, and it is
Your
Aquarius.
Venus.
I am an
Lion.
Aquarius. For anybody who knows astrology, you will love this combination. I am an Aquarius sun, a Sag rising, a Cancer moon. I am a Venus Aquarius. And if you know what that is, that's great. And if you don't, you can feel free to roll your eyes. Let's see. Did having kids affect your career? I think yes, and I think no, and I think in positive ways. I think that's an interesting question. Like, I think it made me a better manager, to be honest. Um,
Mm.
a lot better manager. I think in many ways it helped focus me. I think in many ways it did hinder because if I take this job or this role or do these things, like you're taking away time from your family and how do you manage that? And like I'm not in the tax bracket of getting a nanny, like that's
Yeah,
not, and I think that's awesome if that's what you can do. I
you do
actually
that.
I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. Get as much help as you can. So yeah, of course it affected me with work. I have had the ability to provide my kids with so many interesting opportunities because of my jobs. And I think sometimes that kept me in a job because I was like, oh, they get to do these cool things with me. And now I definitely don't see it that way. And they're older now. So I think also whether you're a mom or a dad, whether you're partnered or not, it's just hard. Just like lean into support systems. That's something I learned way too late is ask for help, lean into support systems. If you can throw money at something, throw money at something, whatever that means in your life. And yeah, my kids are definitely, they have made me such a better person. I feel so lucky to be their mom. I really do. I obviously love my kids, but I really like my kids. I just love the relationship that we have, and I hope we continue to have it. Like, I know that's something that you earn. It's not something that you can just expect. So it's something that I'm trying to foster, and I can't wait to
Yeah,
see what they do.
they're rock stars.
Yeah.
You're a rock star.
Thanks. Any other questions that you might have?
No, I learned some things I didn't know about you. A few
Yeah.
things,
What did
but
you learn?
your viola
Oh, yeah.
era,
Yeah.
I think that was Dewey.
Dewey Fox.
It sounds crazy.
I think he ended up becoming an English professor. He was a writer, and I think he
Oh
became an English
wow.
professor. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited.
There was so much that we didn't even talk about, but I feel like I've just been
There's
yapping
so
for like
there's so
so
much, but I
long.
mean, this would have to be like a whole season of Megan to
I
be able
know. And some of the
to.
questions that were asked, I'm not going to answer because they're better just as like short. So I'll answer them on TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff. And I will do a little self-promotion, which is like super hard for me. So I'm
Good.
very proud of myself in this moment. But I am taking some coaching clients. It's a limited number. If people are interested in it, they can find that information on megdeford.com. I will also promote that like I do want to grow listenership to this podcast. So share it with your friends, rate, review,
Click, like, and
subscribe.
share. Is that what they always say?
Yes, rate,
Click,
review, subscribe, because it does really make a difference.
click, like, link.
And if anybody's listening and knows how I can help grow listenership, please let me know beyond like the standard stuff of like be consistent and whatever. If you want to be a guest on the show, you don't have to talk about your career. You can talk about just something you're passionate about. And Matt, I want to have you on more because I think it's like so much fun.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that could be a standing like a standing guest on a
Yeah, well, or
pod.
co-host or whatever. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
figuring
mean,
that out.
yeah.
But if people have ideas, please let me know.
Yeah, with your
And
listeners, would you want to hear more from me or have my own
they
podcast?
do.
Would you tune in? I don't know.
They
People
do.
are
They want to hear more from you. Everybody like the podcasts that we have are the ones that I get the most interaction on, and people are always cracking up. Like so many people are like, I'm talking back at the two of you when I'm in the car or wherever they're
the
listening to it.
bagels.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
like
Oh, you
that.
know what I forgot to mention, and this has nothing to do with anything, but like talking about like the making your own stuff. I'm also getting my 200-hour yoga certification.
See,
And I
this is
don't know what I'm going to do with it, but yeah, it's like
very
so
millennial of
fun.
you. Very
Very
millennial.
millennial.
We're just doing it for ourselves.
Well, and I just felt like it was more about for me, like I don't know if I'll ever practice, but like what I've learned is incredible. But yeah, I'm not good at self-promotion, and I guess I want to say, thank you for you. I love you.
I love
You
you.
and I really mean that. Like people, we didn't even get into how we really, really met, but like from that moment, we went up to that weirdo college fair and outside of Philadelphia together with the close tucker. Like
Bucks
literally that whole
County.
trip, I
Oh
was
my
like,
God, that was
I
crazy.
love this guy. Like we're gonna be friends. And who knew we would be here doing this now? And just thank you for everybody who supported me over the years. You, if you didn't, no, I'm just kidding.
No, you.
No, I'll beep that out. But no, I mean, I just appreciate all the support and people who let me be who I am. And thank you for those who don't know me, who let me talk to you and yap at you. And it's really cool. It's cool to build community. And I think that's, I'll tie it up with this. We talked about how Maryland is such a special place, right? And it's magical and it's the people. And I feel so lucky that I'm at a place in my life where I'm starting to create that my own community of
Yes.
magical, special people. And I mean, what a gift, right? Like, what a gift and what a joy. So, thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Meg.
Right. I'll text you in like 5 minutes.
Alrighty. Bye. Safe
Bye.
driving.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Wait, What Do You Do Again? For more information about today's guest, or if you'd like to be on the show, please visit megdeford.com. See you next time.